All right, let's get right into it. For pretty much as long as we've known about Alzheimer's, the story has had a very clear villain. But what if that whole story is wrong? We're going to explore a truly radical new theory today that might just flip everything we thought we knew about this disease on its head. So this is the huge question that's really shaking things up in neuroscience right now. For years, decades really, we've poured billions and billions of dollars into developing drugs to fight these sticky plaques in the brain. But what if we've been aiming at the wrong target this entire time? Okay, so before we can really grasp just how revolutionary this new idea is, we have to talk about the theory that has absolutely dominated the field for years. This right here is the classic textbook explanation. The idea goes something like this. There's this protein, amyloid-beta, and it starts to go haywire. It clumps together into these sticky, gunky messes called plaques. And the thinking was that these plaques are what clog up the brain, killing off cells and causing all the devastating symptoms of Alzheimer's. For a long, long time, this has been the established villain of the story. But, good science is all about questioning what we think we know. And for a while now, researchers have been noticing some pretty major inconsistencies, let's call them cracks, in the foundation of this whole plaque theory. And here's where the plot really thickens. Scientists found this really strange discrepancy. A lot of older people can have brains just full of these plaques, but they show absolutely no signs of dementia. Get this, by the time you're 85, only about 1 in 5 people who have these amyloid plaques actually get Alzheimer's. Now, if the plaques were the one and only cause, wouldn't that number be way, way higher? It's a huge puzzle. So to really dig into this puzzle, researchers at the University of Cincinnati did something massive. They analyzed data from 26,000 people. That's across 24 different clinical trials. And somewhere inside that mountain of data, they found a critical clue. So if it's not the plaques, then what in the world is it? Well, the data started pointing to a completely different suspect, or maybe it's more accurate to say a different kind of victim. So I want you to meet AB42. Now, this is a very specific and very healthy form of that same amyloid protein. But instead of clumping up, this one is soluble. It just floats around freely in the brain. And its job? It's basically a security guard, protecting our brain cells from all sorts of toxins and infections. This is a protein that's supposed to be there. It's one of the good guys. And this quote just brilliantly captures the new idea. Dr. Espay, who is the lead author on the study, uses this really powerful metaphor. The plaques aren't the murder weapon. They're the tombstones left behind after our hero protein AB42 has been all used up defending the brain. So this is the absolute turning point, this dramatic shift in perspective. The old theory saw Alzheimer's as a disease of gain. Your brain is gaining all these toxic plaques. But this new theory, it frames it as a disease of loss. Your brain is losing a protective, essential protein. The problem isn't what's there, it's what's missing. And Dr. Espay just puts it so bluntly right here. The entire focus just flips. He's arguing that the brain isn't just swelling up with toxic junk, it's actually withering away because it's losing a key resource it desperately needs to protect itself and to function. As you can probably imagine, an idea this big doesn't just make a few ripples. It creates a total tidal wave in the scientific community. So let's look at the impact. A sea change, a shock. That's how one neuropsychologist described these findings. It just completely upends decades of research and, again, billions of dollars in funding that have been focused almost entirely on one thing: getting rid of plaques. And look, this isn't just some wild hunch. The data was pretty clear. They found that patients who had higher levels of that good, soluble Aβ42 protein had slower cognitive decline. And here's the kicker. This was true even if their plaque levels didn't change much at all. The takeaway seems to be that having enough of the good stuff is way more important than getting rid of the bad stuff. So if this theory really holds up, where do we go from here? Right? What does this mean for future treatments, for research, and maybe even for our own day-to-day lives? Well, the path forward starts to look totally different. The first step is this huge pivot away from plaque removal being the main goal. Instead, the new frontier is all about developing therapies that could actually boost or restore our brain's supply of this really helpful Aβ42 protein. And this new theory also connects to something that we might actually be able to control. And this, I think, is a really empowering point. According to the Lancet Commission, almost half of your risk for Alzheimer's is tied to things you can modify. Stuff like your diet, exercise, and how you manage other health conditions.
And this links right back to the new theory. Experts are now asking a really hopeful question. Could these simple, non-drug approaches be the key? Could treating something like hearing loss, or managing your blood pressure, or just getting more exercise, could that actually help our brains keep these protective proteins at healthy levels? It's a really proactive new way of looking at things.
And so that leaves us with this final, really powerful question. We've spent decades waging this war of removal, just trying to clear out what we thought was the enemy. But what if the future of fighting Alzheimer's isn't about clearing wreckage at all, but about rebuilding our brain's natural defenses? A future focused on restoration, not just removal. It's a thought that could truly change everything.